It's Dee Dee on the spot.
Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Before I get to my guest here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe down below. We greatly appreciate it. We have Outlaw Saint here today. Outlaw Saint, how you guys doing?
Hey, Ryan. Nice to see you.
Thanks, brother.
That's great. Yeah, no worries. So why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory on what got you started into music, what really inspired you to do so, and what you guys are up to currently?
Well, with me, I actually have been performing in one form or another since the age of 9. I started off in theater, did that until probably I turned about 18, 19 years old, and then I performed live with a band for the first time when I hit about 21. It was just a natural transition, and it come to realize that music was very intricate. Just like it told the story, and it moved me. So I've been doing that ever since.
You want to tell them about Outlaw Saint, then I'll tell them
okay.
So just where they know we got together.
Yeah. With me and Tommy, Outlaw Saint's actually been around for about 7 years now. It's just we basically we've been through a couple lineups here and there. Unfortunately, that's one of the things we've been sort of known for. But the whole thing is that we're looking for people who want to do this, but understand that hey, it's not going to be an overnight success. When Outlaw Saint first started, we had absolutely no fans whatsoever. I mean, we started from scratch. Because there's some people that they were in a famous band, they start another band, and they bring all the fans over from their thing, the whole 9 yards. With Outlaw Saint, the only people at the time that were our fans were I had been doing open jams, for several years, but unfortunately, all those people were into the whole cover thing. So we were doing all original material. So there's a lot of people who just don't understand. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and it's nothing against any of the previous members. I hold nothing against them. It's not an easy task. And so finally, about a year ago, met Tommy here. He answered one of my ads, Craigslist, I believe. And we've been, trying to get this thing off the ground once more.
Yeah, so for me, music-wise, Ryan, I started playing acoustic guitar in 5th grade.
Oh, wow.
Which, it's more years ago than I want to tell you live. So, quite like 40 years of playing guitar now. And a lot of cover bands, played all over the U.S. and just like I said, when I answered Tank's ad, it was just, we clicked right off the bat. And, the reality, and I'm sure you've had other guests say that, of just being in an original rock band, there's no money, and that's the hardest thing that, Tank's fought the good fight for 7 years, man. It's just tough. We, it's literally, or, if there is some money, Tank set up a great gig last Thursday night. We played with 2 awesome female fronted bands. One of them, the Rumors, right here, that we just love. They're out of Iowa. We gave them all the money just because we like them. They're trying to tour, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't a lot of money, but what we had went to them because they were getting in their van and driving to the next gig, and we live here, at least have a place to sleep. So to me, I love the freedom of this versus cover bands that we get to do what we want, and it's just a lot of fun. And I'm sure you have some link to show footage of Tank live on stage. He's a freaking character on the stage, and that's what we live for, playing live. So
yeah, we'll definitely leave some links down below to some of your guys' performances. But Tank, I gotta ask, how'd you get your name? How'd that come to be?
Well, it's kind of weird because it started off self-given, but sort of in reverse over the last couple of years, especially, I've sort of earned the nickname, if you will. Basically, what had happened was that I had I was in a small town. I started getting into Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, type thing. But it's just like I was a naive, country boy that didn't realize that, these guys were, gutter rats, the whole 9 yards. It's like I didn't even know that there was swearing on Appetite for Destruction until the 90s.
Yeah.
So, but it's just like all I knew is that they changed their names. Okay, so it's just like I wanted to change my name. I was moving to a city. No one knew me. So I picked the name Gunner Tank Matrix.
Ooh.
And basically the reason for that was because Gunner, at the time, that was Nikki Sixx's first son, Gunner.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to do with Gunner Nelson, So it's just like, hey, Motley Crue's a badass, so Gunner's a badass name. I went with Matrix because at the time it was just like I was watching a Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's just like John Matrix. John Matrix is badass, so it's just like, okay, Matrix is a badass name. And then I was going like Tank, and I'm going, oh, it just makes me sound like a badass. So for the longest time, I was going by Gunner Tank Matrix. And, of course, people were going to ask the story, oh, how did you get your nickname? Well, I couldn't tell them it was self-given. So I told them a half-truthful, half-white lie, how I got the name. So it's just like, the truthful part was back in high school as a klutz. I was tripping over myself, the whole 9 yards. The not-so-truthful part was, I told people, well, everyone was saying, oh, well, he's being tanked again, and soon the name just stuck. So it's just like, I went with that for years, and then at one point I decided I dropped the Gunner and the Matrix because it was just too long, just Tank. And then for the longest time, it was just like, okay, well, all of a sudden, this place where everyone knew me, this work, I closed down, so I moved to another job, another city away. And I went back to my regular name. And then all of a sudden, all my friends, from my old work started coming in. Hey, Tank, how's it doing? Hey, Tank, how's it doing? Blah, blah. So it stuck that way. But now, lately, I'm a big believer in this band. And, I'm the only original member of this band right now. And to me, it means, no matter what obstacles come my way, no matter how many people quit or whatnot, I basically run through it like a tank. It's just like, so it's one of those weird little, started off as self-given, and then I ended up earning the nickname.
Yep, my best friend in high school had the same thing where he named himself Big Red, and then it stuck after a while. Like everyone started calling him that. But when you were coming up with the name Outlaw Saint, how did that come to be? Is there a story behind that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there was, and this was a little bit before Tommy's time. But what had happened was that this was about 7 years ago when the band first formed with the original lineup, and for the sake of the story, this was back when I was on a plan for my cell phone where, I paid for the first 50 texts, each month. And this works into the story. So basically what was happening was we started with Motivator. And they said, okay, well, if we come up with a better name, we'll go with it or whatnot. So I'm at my house, and I'm reading this DVD of Justice League, Crisis on Two Earths. And there was two words that were just stuck together, outcast status. So I'm going like, I'm texting up, all 5 members of the band going like, hey, how does outcast status sound? And everyone answered me back, hey, it's cool. And then, a few minutes later, I'm going, it just doesn't quite work. And then one of the guitar players says, well, how about Outlaw? Hey, Outlaw status. Hey, cool. Hey, how's this sound? I'm going to text to the other guys. And the other guys all answer back. They're going like, yeah, that sounds really cool, blah, blah, blah. And then I realized, it just doesn't quite sound right. And then it popped in my head, Outlaw Saint. So I'm texting all 5 guys, hey, how does Outlaw Saint sound? Everyone answers back, hey, it sounds cool, blah, blah, blah. We found the name. And the interesting part about it is that this was at the beginning of my cycle for the text messages. And I used up almost all my whole quota in like 10 minutes. And as time went by, Outlaw Saint there was a meaning behind it. With me, I grew up with Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses. It's just like, to me, Appetite wasn't so much about, these guys being gutter punks, life on the streets. To me, it's like 1987. This was one of the first bands of, the late 80s that said, hey, everyone else was like, okay, first we're going to write a rocker, then we're going to write a ballad. There was this formula. and Guns N' Roses came out going like, hey, we're going to talk about what we want to talk about. If you don't like it, there's the door. And, it's just like, and so, I became so enthralled with that whole notion. And then I started to realize, wait a minute, some of the greatest bands out there actually had names that were opposite of each other. And the thing about Guns N' Roses, guns, and then you had Roses. And the whole thing was, it started, I started realizing to me, rock and roll was all about the good, the bad, the ugly, the funny, whatever it is. And so I started getting into all these bands that had opposite names. So you had like Led Zeppelin, you had Guns N' Roses, you had Black Sabbath, and it's just like, and all of a sudden, as time went by, I'm going like, and I started writing these songs about, real life situations, I had all these ideas and whatnot, and Outlaw Saint became that, hey, we're all about the good, the bad, the ugly, the funny, whatever it is. There are two parts to Outlaw Saint. There is the songs, and then there's the live show. With the songs, I don't try to touch on very political or, very, very, I stay away from that, okay? But it's just like, but I'll talk about good things and I'll talk about bad things. And the whole thing is that the idea is that when you grab an Outlaw Saint CD, you listen to the songs, hey, you agree with this, you don't agree with this, hey, you relate to this song, you don't relate to this song. But when you come to an Outlaw Saint show, our intention is to have you release that energy in a very positive manner, have the music drive you. Basically, I've been on the music scene for about 20 years now. So, I've seen my fair share of cover bands. I've seen my fair share of original bands. And I'm not trying to knock any of them, so I just want to make that clear here. Everyone has to work together, whatever floats, whatever works for you. But it's just like with a lot of cover bands, the most successful of the cover bands are what I call the jukebox bands. Where they play the top 40, or, if they're an 80s band, or you're playing all the songs from the 80s that everyone knows, blah, blah, blah. And I've noticed over the years that people, when they go see a cover band, especially what I call a jukebox band, they're not paying attention to the band. They're just dancing, they're, looking at each other or whatnot. Whereas with a lot of original bands and the shows that we're trying to put forth, we want the people up front on the stage, pounding their fists, looking at the band. So all their energy goes to us, and then we take that energy and we push it out towards everyone else. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing is just to have a very positive experience.
Yep. Now, Tommy, obviously we got the impression that Tank just is full of energy and that he's a very energetic person, and I could just tell just from talking to him already. What was your first impression of him when you first met him off of Craigslist?
I know you have to bleep it out, but I thought he was a fucking nutcase. But, once I got to know him, and you can see it in the interview. This is Tank. There's no, there's nothing fake about this guy. Mm-hmm. He dresses like this to go to work. He lives, he lives for Outlaw Saint, and that's what impressed me. He's been literally banging his head against that wall, like you said, a tank, for 7 years, trying to get Outlaw Saint out there, and nothing stops him. It's amazing. He just stays at it, and that was really it when I met him, and that's what he'll field the first call from potential new members, but I'm usually the guy after that to chat with him. I just said, hey, do you believe in Tank? If you do, come on, join up. And if you don't, this isn't for you.
And for the record, I always try to tell him, believe in the band. Don't believe in me, believe in the band.
Well,
the right thing. But, he says what he says, and I say what I say. So
I see Tank and Outlaw Saint as, kind of inseparable. So, one or the other. He's our front man, and, that's it. If you believe in him, then come on and join up. And if not, okay. It's just, like I said, for me, like I said, he is an authentic rocker, I guess is the best way to put it. This is what he wears to work, Yep. Me, of course, I don't wear the hat, but, I do not live and breathe it like he does, and he just does. That's Tank.
I literally wear my use an old saying. I literally wear my influences on my sleeve, like a badge of honor. It's just like, the only time that I'll dress nicely is
guns T-shirt, guys. You guys can see it.
Yep.
Tank. That's it.
Like the only time I'll dress up nice is if it's something special, a wedding. If I'm required to wear a uniform at work, which thank goodness I don't have to worry about that right now. So, but it's just, that's just. And a lot of people, unfortunately, mistake me for being a biker. And I will tell you right now, there are no illusions. I'm no biker, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, basically what you see here is, appetite for destruction mixed with poisons open up and say, the whole fashion sense. And it's just like, if you look inside the insert for, appetite for destruction, here you see them in leather jackets, the whole 9 yards. And that always stuck with me. It's just like, and yes, I did hang out in a couple of biker bars, for the first 3 or 4 years as a legal drinker. But it's just like, all my money has gone to the band. And it's just like, that's what I wear. I wear leather and denim.
Yeah.
There.
So, Tank, what would you say was the biggest difficulty you had when you were starting out Outlaw Saint, and how'd you guys overcome it?
Let's see. Probably the hardest one was trying to convince all my friends to come and see us live. And once again, it's just like, before Outlaw Saint, a majority of my experience live-wise, getting everything was an open jam that actually started back in 1996. It was the first open jam. All these open jams you see nowadays, this was the one that started it all. And it's just like, so all these people, and I had a small cult following, if you will. I've been doing this for several years. And it just got to the point where trying to get, these people were the cover band people. And once again, I'm not knocking anyone, I'm not knocking fans or whatnot, but hey, if you're not playing covers or whatnot, it's kind of hard to get them interested in, your original material. And basically it just got to the point where I was going like, hey, if they're going to come, they're going to come. If not, I just promote. What I'm trying to do is that it's, in my opinion, from all my years of, on the scene, I've noticed that, once you call yourself a cover band or once you call yourself an original band, you set yourself up for certain fans. It's just like, if you're a cover band, all these people who, follow your covers will come and see you, but as soon as you start playing your original material, they're not so interested. So what I try to do with this band is, even though we do concentrate on our originals, we don't do the 3-hour nights, full nights, okay? Most of our shows are 45 to 60 minutes, maybe somewhere down the line we'll do a minute, hour and a half. It's just like, but what we do is that we play a mixture of covers and our originals, and, we just bust into the covers, and it's just like, we don't tell people we're an original band. We don't tell people we're a cover band. We are just a rock band, that plays both. And, the whole idea is that way there's no, in theory, there is no preconceived notion that, hey, come and see us, we're going to play all these covers or whatnot. So, but the other cool thing about being in the original band is when we do covers, we can do the covers we want to do. We're not, people are not coming in to see a jukebox band. They're coming in to see Outlaw Saint. So, hey, we're not regulated to playing, the songs that everybody knows. So it's just like, if we want to bust into, Look What the Cat Dragged In, just like we can do that, and we do it our way. And every time we do a song, we say, hey, this is the way that we like it. This is the way that we do it. We hope you enjoy it.
Yep, absolutely. So When you when you're performing live, one of the big questions that we like to ask all of our guests is kind of what that feels like for you. I mean, all the artists that we have on here and musicians describe it as kind of like a drug unlike any other. I mean, especially after all the hard work that musicians usually put in, the millions of times you practice your songs, and just being able to finally have that thrusting that upon the crowd. What is that feeling like for you guys personally?
Tommy, I'll let you.
Yeah, for me, that's what I guess attracted me to this. We're I'm sure we're going to get to that talking about the CD we're working on, that songs that Tank has kind of honed over the last 7 years. But, I got to obviously play it my way. And, to me, there's just nothing like playing live. I came from, a fairly popular, cover band previous to this. That it was a blast. We played probably 8 times every month. It was a busy band.
Yeah.
But to get to step into this and just especially play it my way, it just there's nothing like it. It just, like you said, it is a drug. There is definitely a drug. The euphoria you get. But one thing about this band, and I guess it's not a rule, but we definitely when we're performing, there's pretty much no alcohol on stage. We just don't, and that's not. Tank doesn't lay down the law. It's just something we've kind of evolved over to keep it. There's just no need for that. Trying to keep it, and like I said, the euphoria we get just from playing is amazing. If like I said, if you'll have a couple clips with, Tank is just a freaking madman on stage, and that's, we're behind him supporting it as best we can. So it's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun about an Outlaw Saint show that we just try to bring that out to the audience. It's not, there's no, our songs aren't about necessarily sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I guess they are a bit, but, I would say more sex and rock and roll, and maybe not so much on the drugs. I guess it's just, from guys that have been through it for years. I won't say we're the most positive band, but at least the way we try to act, and that comes from Tank. We may look like, that degenerate biker band, but that really isn't what we're about. So that's, I guess, the best I can answer that, Ryan. Just love playing with Tank and the guys, and we just have a really good time.
And for the record, I just want to state out there that not once do we claim to be the best live band out there. Everyone has their opinions. Some are going to hate us, some are going to love us, or whatnot. All we are trying to do is trying to do the best that we can to put on the most gung-ho rock show possible. We'll have off nights. Some nights we'll be able to do it, some nights we won't be able to do it. But I don't want people to think that, we think we're the shit. We're not. It's just like, we're having fun up there. To me personally, performing is more of a catharsis. It's just like all these things going on in my life, or whatnot. To me, being up on stage, it's like, hey, I'm just up here to have fun. I'm releasing my tension in a positive manner, and I like to move. As I've at one point, I'm sort of, gaining a few pounds here now, but for years I have a stage show that I like to say that is a cross between David Lee Roth and Axl Rose. Mm-hmm. Or, as I like to say it, part kamikaze, part guerrilla warfare. So it's just like, basically, as soon as I get up on the stage, boom, I want to grab you by the throat, going like, hey, we're having fun here, I'm dancing around, and I don't want to let go until the end of the show. Mm-hmm. And I guess, me personally, that's one reason why I like to keep the shows, sort of short. Or not, not the 3-hour nights, but I'm saying, the 1 hour to the 1 hour, the hour and a half, is we don't have, we haven't been around for ages, so it's just like we can't pull out a 3-hour show and, keep people's, attention. So it's just like, and me, being a little older, it's just like, I can't last past, an hour and a half. So it's just like, the idea is, hey, get up there, hey, we're going to put on the best show that we can. We have very little dead air, as they call it. It's just like, basically I'll go from one song to another. I will pause, during certain songs, and I'll hold up a drink, and I'm going like, hey, it's just like, here's your drink. Let me see your drinks. Remember to tip your bartenders and your waitresses. It's just, but I try to make it a smooth transition, from beginning to end. Hey, it's just like, I want to try and make this as exciting as possible. Every now and then we'll bust out an acoustic, maybe do a few acoustic songs for those who might like that. And but we're trying to, each show we're trying to do a little bit differently, each show, so that way it doesn't become monotonous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tommy, we love to hear first show stories. What was your first show with Outlaw Saint like, and where'd you guys play?
The first would have been Club Underground, right?
Yep.
We tried to, and I know you can edit this if you want. I joined just about a year ago because we're playing Famous Dave's Battle of the Band in October. So I probably joined in September, right, a year ago.
Yep.
Because we tried. That was just a turnover. Like I said, that's the problem with this original stuff.
Well, actually, I don't mean to correct you here. I think it was August, because that year
was earlier.
It was earlier.
Because that was we tried to get, the band turnover, the old band done, Tank's hiring or I shouldn't even say hiring new guys, but, and we were trying to get acoustically together to do Famous Dave's Battle of the Bands. We just couldn't. I mean, it was literally, I think, Tuesday we met, I was in the band, and Thursday was we just couldn't do it. I couldn't pull it off to learn the songs that quick. So we, which you hate to do, but bowed out of that gig. We had to withdraw, which sucks. So I think, a couple months later, we had the band together and played at Club Underground, right?
Yep.
In Northeast.
Yep.
That's kind of become our home away from home. I jokingly call it a dive bar underneath a dive bar, but we just played there last Thursday with these two, female bands. It just had a great time, and kind of the first gig was that way. I don't remember. Masters of the Sky, right?
Yeah. Yep. We were playing with Masters of the Sky. Yep.
Who were two old members from Outlaw Saint. All three came from. So we all know each other, and it was, for a first gig, it was fun, and like I said, that's, I guess, the biggest thing I've seen playing the original rock circuit, whatever you want to call it. We all get to know each other. There isn't, it's not like we're way freaking better than you. We're kicking. No, it's real camaraderie to help each other out, even down, like lugging each other's equipment up, down, because we all hope to make it, right? But if not, we're having fun doing it. And that was, I guess, for me, just the fun, the first gig I got to do, with Tank. I just remember that was a lot of fun, and especially with, like I said, the other band that played was all guys that already played with them, so it was not. There was no real competition that way. Like, hey, we're way better. No, nothing. Just up there having fun. And pretty much every gig since then, I've met at the other bands that Tank kind of already knew. It's a small, close knit community, and it's just a lot of fun playing together. We're all helping each other out, and hopefully one of us makes it. But that's what I remember. Just the fun. With different with cover bands, there's definitely a competition. I mean, you're fighting for that gig, and it isn't necessarily that way with original rock, because we're not making any money anyways, so it just doesn't work that way. We're out there together having fun, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yep. So Tank, well, since being an original member, do you find that as members leave and come and go, has the sound of the band changed, or has it mainly stayed the same?
Actually, it's in some cases it changed almost drastically. In other cases, just slightly. Outlaw Saint now is, slightly different than when we first started, type thing. And then, I tried experimenting with, we're influenced by, Guns N' Roses, blah, blah, blah. At one point, I brought in a couple shredders, things fell apart, and okay, that doesn't work. So back to the whole blues rock, type thing. And but right now it's just like this is actually the closest that the band's ever gotten to what I envisioned, when I first started it. And it's just like it took 7 years, but hey, you want to know something? I'm glad. It's just like I'm happy with the direction that we're going right now. I'm happy with the members in the band. It's just like, it's almost a dream come true, at least for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I can throw something in there, Ryan. Sound wise, jokingly, Tank always. We're still trying to find another guitar player for and we kind of backburnered it, but he always advertises playing a Les Paul through a Marshall, like Slash, but not. But that's the sound we've always tried to get, and that definitely fits now. We've just worked at keeping that sound. So I always joke with him that, of course I got my Marshall, but I'm playing a Mesa Boogie now that sounds even better, and he likes it better. That's cool. But just the sound, is not. I don't want to say we influenced by GNR. I'm that way too. Slash is one of my all-time favorites, but I grew up listening to Jimmy Page, so there you go. Though Slash would, of course, cite Jimmy Page is one of his big influences. So, there you go. It's, I guess we all kind of come from the same place. And, it just, what you hear on stage is, like I said, once the Tank brought up, that's what I do. It's fun to throw the acoustics out there sometime, but it's also really fun, like last week, that, it was balls to the wall. We did 12 or 14 just. There was no let up, and that was how we all did it. All three bands, just nobody was slowing down. And it was just a lot of fun doing that. It was just a really fun show, and it seems like everyone's a little bit better. And I guess I'll let Tank plug the next show, the one I know we're doing, that festival thing.
Yeah, we're doing actually Sword Metal Fest on September 15th, which is actually going to be me and the bass player's birthday bash.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I always try to have a show right around my birthday.
Yeah.
Every year. And
you're turning 39, right?
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, what was it? The 23rd anniversary of my 21st birthday. So it's just like, and, I do it every year. And it's just like, this year we're actually playing Nicens for the first time. And what's interesting is it's going to be a 2-day festival, and we're actually going to be one of the lightest bands on the entire festival. So it's just like you got some metal, you got some phonic metal, you got some I think you maybe one or punk or two, and some extreme metal. So it's just like hey, we're a little bit lighter than you, but hey, we're still playing. Mm-hmm. So. Can't wait for that one.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see that, Ryan. Because when he told me that, okay, I don't, not like I'm the old guy, but I don't get, you talk to everybody, so it's, speed metal, black metal, death metal. We like to just call ours, straight ahead rock, old school rock,
or as I call Ron Raunchy, rock and roll. Yeah,
but I'm also interested to hear, what are these guys doing? It'd be fun to hear the other, I hate to say younger, but yeah, probably younger doing this cool new stuff, whatever they're doing. I'm sure it's going to be very melodic. Right? Either way, it'll be cool to listen to, and funny to hear us as the lighter band, because we're
we're usually the heavier band on the bill. It's just we actually did one show a couple years back at the Red Sea. And what was funny was that they played a folk band and a country band before us. And so what the funny thing about it was is that we went to do sound check, and they still had the volume set for acoustic, thing. So it's just like when we first hit that string, it was just like you could literally hear us outside, like 3 buildings down. So it's just like, Yeah, that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. So you guys mentioned that you're working on an album. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, actually, we are doing a rock opera, as a matter of fact, but not just a standard rock opera. We're calling this a raw and raunchy rock opera. And so basically, just to give people out there an idea here, for those who don't know what, rock opera is, it's a story, being told from beginning to end. Most people, when you hear rock opera, you're thinking slick music production. Usually the vocalists, have high vocal, sometimes operatic, or what.
I'm thinking Meatloaf, basically. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
kind of. I mean, yeah, I guess that's
or
really
like Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime.
Yeah.
When people think rock opera, they think Operation Mindcrime, which is, but instead of the slick music production and the, the high-end vocals, okay, you're going to get the story told with whiskey-fueled vocals and down and dirty rock and roll. So probably the best way to describe it would be if Velvet Revolver would have came out in the 80s and tried to release Operation Mindcrime.
Wow.
Not saying that we're going to be, as good as, any of those bands, but that's the basic idea. Taking the, if Slash and, Dave would have, they would have been back in their, like the Appetite, type guitars, with a lower voice, So anyways, but it's going to be very influenced by Operation Mindcrime. We're going to do a little homage, if you will. Whereas there are sound bites, in different parts where it's a story, being told, it's a narration, and then you listen to the song, and the lyrics, also push the story forward. And we already recorded the parts, and we had two of the members of the Rebel Queens that we had mentioned before actually come in and do the two female parts, and there's one male part which will be me, and we have some cool ideas, or whatnot. So it's just like, to us, it's just like, hey, this is something different. Yes, it's been done before. We're not saying we're coming up with anything new. We're not saying that. But when was the last time that Guns N' Roses released a rock opera? Or Velvet Revolver, or basically the last time was probably The Who, back in the 60s. So it's just like, we're taking an old idea and putting our own little twist on it.
Do you find, when it comes to writing this rock opera, since there hasn't been a rock opera in the mainstream for a long time, do you find that you're trying to write something that might appeal to a broad audience, or are you just doing your own thing and saying, screw that, I just want to write what I want to write?
Well, actually, the rock opera actually came around by accident. And what had happened was that one of the last, before Tommy came into the picture, there was a point where, basically two members left. And so what I was doing was I was taking these songs and I'm going like, okay, I'm gonna move forward to get a new guitar player. Hey, these are the songs that I want on the new album. And so what had happened was that I strategically placed them like I would on an album. Okay, so for example, if you're a rock band, you don't want to start off an album with an acoustic number, type thing. You guys strategically place the songs, in a certain order. And as I was doing that, it dawned on me, I'm going like, wait a minute, this tells a story. And, all of a sudden, 5 minutes later, I had the story all written out, all figured out, fleshed out. And what it was is that it's, basically all these songs had a certain theme, and basically they all connected. And it was completely by accident. So it's just, we'll see what happens on that. So it's just like, it wasn't intention, we didn't say, hey, we're going to write a rock opera, blah, blah, blah. It just so happens that, the songs fit in a certain order. And I did change around a couple of the lyrics to a couple of the songs to push the story forward. So, and they were re-recording everything. So it's just like, with the new band, it's just like, I'm hoping that, that I feel that it's going to be different.
Yeah. Tank, you seem like a very high energy person, just like I am as well. When you get done with your shows, do you ever feel like just drained, or do you still have the energy to keep going, or do you like to kind of leave it all out on the line when you're performing live?
That's actually a good question. It depends on the time. For the most part, I slowly cool down, after each show or whatnot. Or there'll be times where, well, for example, there was one time that I was doing a show. I was doing an open jam, type thing. And I was doing Look What the Cat Dragged In, and I did something different this time around. And it was a big stage. It was, it was carpeted or whatnot. And what I did was at one point in the song, I did a knee slide all the way from the drums all the way to the guitar player on the other side. And it was just like, and it was the adrenaline was just pumping, and it just, it did, and I had, the holes in my jeans, the whole 9 yards. And then all of a sudden, I get done performing, and as I'm walking off the stage, the adrenaline wears off, and I'm going, ow, ow. I had rug burn for like a whole week. But it's just like, so sometimes that adrenaline will just, coincide, and if I happen to injure myself, while I'm performing, I'll feel it right away. Or there'll be times where, I'll be on such a high with such a great show that, that adrenaline will last for, a couple hours. So it all depends on the situation.
Do you ever feel the pressure of being, since you do have a lot of energy and you do, like they say, you do put on a great show. I've watched some of your videos on YouTube. You really are an amazing frontman when it comes to your antics and how you present it. Do you ever feel the added pressure knowing that a lot of people are going to be looking at you and you represent a good majority of the band? Does that pressure ever make you do stuff that you wouldn't normally do, or do you normally just let it rub off your shoulders?
I just do what feels, at the time. It's just like, there's no intimidation, at all. It's just like I've been doing this for years, so it's just like it's almost second nature. So it's just, there's no pressure at all. It's just like this is how the music drives me.
Yeah. Well, I was about to... Oh, now that Tommy's back, it's great. Now we can do our most popular part of the podcast, our questionnaire, our 5 questions that I like to ask every band, and I take the results, and then once we reach podcast 50, I think I'll release it, and then we'll figure out something that I'll have to do. I was thinking about maybe making a video, then I'd probably have to sing a video of like one of the songs from one of the questions. But so for our first question, it's, out of all the music that's ever been written in the history of music, what is one song that you personally wish you would come up with yourself, and why? And both you guys answer all these.
Mine would be "It's So Easy" by Guns N' Roses. It's just like, to me, I love performing that song live. It's just like, just to live what they were talking about in that song, that would be for me.
Well, definitely Led Zeppelin. Boy, it's, of course, Stairway to Heaven is the most popular, but probably the Rain song. Actually.
Oh, yeah.
It's acoustic, which we don't play much, but that probably would be the one. That song's always touched me for, God, I don't know how old's the song, but that to me would just be it. The way they put that song together.
Absolutely.
Definitely something by Zeppelin. One of, yes.
So now, out of all the artists that have ever lived, dead or alive, artists, musicians, if you could perform live for one show with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Slash. Guns N' Roses, biggest influence. Slash helped make Appetite what it is. I reference Appetite all the time because that really inspired me. And yes, don't get me wrong, I would love to do Izzy too, but if I only had one person, it would be Slash.
Yeah, I think my answer, Ryan. It would be, if somehow the planets all aligned and I could get up there and play one song with Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, and, John Paul Jones, and geez, if we're dreaming, if Bonham was still alive.
Oh, absolutely.
For me, would, which almost the same thing, because I bet if you if you got to interview Slash, Ryan, he'd probably say that. I think.
Oh yeah.
That. So it all kind of comes together as far as influences that. But yeah, for me it would be just a chance to play with Led Zeppelin would be it. Certainly number 2 for me as a guitar player would be if I could play with Slash. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So. Thank you.
I mean, like 100%. I'd say probably 90% of people on the planet would answer Led Zeppelin. I mean, just playing with them, going to one of their old concerts would be just a dream come true. But now for question number 3, out of all the venues on the planet, if you could play at any venue, where would you go and why?
Troubadour.
Okay.
Sunset Strip. I would love to play there. I mean, that would be a bucket list thing for me to play at the Troubadour. Just because that's where everything started for the 80s was, in 60s and 70s, but it's a mecca right there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess for me it would probably be Madison Square Garden, just because that's where they recorded the song Remains the Same, right? And that was my formative years watching. I had a friend that was an usher at the old Roseville Theater in high school. I went to Mounds View, and I would, he wouldn't have to sneak in. He'd bring me in with my acoustic, and I'd sit in the front row. This is before, we didn't have YouTube back then.
Yep.
And I would just sit and pick out the songs, watching Jimmy, on that. And
wow.
And then that's a friend of mine. I'm still good friends with him. He still comes and sees the band. He helped me out a lot, and so for me, that just because where Zeppelin had the most famous show ever.
Yeah. So now we get to the real nitty gritty. For question 4, what is a guilty pleasure song that you think that either one of you guys wouldn't know, but that the other one enjoys?
Oh, he'll never guess what my guilty pleasure one is, unless he saw one of my previous interviews.
I did watch some. I know. I will say we came up with one last week that I thought, because I pushed him into, we needed I hate to say it's a formula thing, but seems like every hard rock band comes out with doing a cover as well, right? I mean, You Really Got Me by Van Halen.
We're not doing a cover of this.
Oh, no. You're going to have to tell me, because I don't know it. Because to me, we did, and I thought it was cool as hell. You guys are going to hear it soon, doing Hit the Road Jack by Ray Charles.
Oh, yeah.
And we had Tiffany, the lead singer from Rebel Queens, with Tank doing and I thought it was cool as hell. I was just, and it was one, we rehearsed it a couple times, just went and did it. She came up and sang it. I thought it was freaking awesome. I don't know. He's going to throw something out here. I probably never some probably disco hit or something, and then we won't go cut whatever he's going to say, Ryan. We're going to cover it.
No, you're not. No, you're not. No,
what is it? What is it? Say it.
Backstreet Boys.
Oh, God.
It's the second time we've heard of Backstreet Boys on here. Yes.
Right, that one. Yeah, I'm glad you got that.
Which song? Which song?
Are you kidding me?
God, it's that one. I can't remember the name of it. It's
I Want It That Way?
It's that rock song that they have.
Backstreet's Back?
Huh?
Backstreet's Back?
No. Larger Than Life.
Larger Than Life. Yeah, that's a good one.
Larger Than Life. But only because, and the only reason is because I came up with a dirty version of that song.
All right, well, then maybe you're going to hear it, Ryan, and you come to our next. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Absolutely.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. So for our last question of the questionnaire, what is your guys' end goal for this band? What would you say if something could happen where you could finally say, like, I feel accomplished, like we did what we came to do? What would that goal be?
I think, and when he first brought me in, and I think you're going to agree with me that they play out at Sturgis. Mm-hmm. That was
Buffalo Chips.
Yeah, I wouldn't care what we could play at. We could play at the freaking latrines if we got to play at Sturgis, and I think that was just right, kind of the day I came.
Yeah.
And I've never been there. We're not bikers, so don't get. I've got a lot of friends who are bikers. But that, just for us as a band, that's kind of, I think that would be our goal. We could just go out there and play at Sturgis at some point. That might,
And I do agree with that, but I also have to say, me personally, I want to do whatever I can. I just want to play wherever I can. If it's a good enough stage, I'm willing to play at least every place once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
if someone were to come up to you, either one of you on the street, and say, like, hey, I'm trying to form my own band, what would be the best piece of advice that you could give that person in order to be successful?
You're going to have to work a lot harder than you think, but it's fun work. I that was part when I left the cover band thing, where you just learn every song note for note, to the Outlaw Saint thing, where we're writing our own stuff. And for me, stepping back, I had to go back to learning theory, working at it, the work part. I'm sure you've talked to a lot of other music, it's not fun. Okay, I got to make this work, and I know we've talked about that just in songwriting, that, you don't want to think in any formula, but there's certain boxes, shall we say, you need to stay inside of to write a song. And it's all be doing it. Do it. If you believe in it, go out and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be more work than you ever imagined. But just the rewards, going back to what you said, to get to play live in front of 5 people, 50 people, 500, 5,000, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It's just fun to play in front of people.
Yep.
So that's what I would say.
I'm going to say one other thing, but just to add on to what Tommy was saying here. One thing I would tell him is, you can do one of two things. You can either go with the flow, you can be
cover band,
or right? Cookie cutter. You can do whatever is popular, or you can follow your dreams. Okay, but if you choose to go against the grain to follow your dreams, if it's not the status quo, be prepared to work your butt off. Mm-hmm. I mean, Outlaw Saint, it's just like, not a lot of bands do the music that we're doing, and, because of that, we're not as popular as, say, some band that sounds like Alter Bridge, mm-hmm. Type thing. So, but me personally, if I were to tell someone, patience, if you really want to do it, push on through. Don't let anyone tell you can't do it. As long as you stay within a certain guideline, like me, for example, I can't hit those high notes, and I don't plan to hit those high notes. But as long as I stay in key, I am doing my thing. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, do what you want. Don't worry what other people think, because there'll be people out there you can't satisfy. Mm-hmm. No matter what you do, they'll always find some reason, something to run you down with or whatnot. So it's just like, do what you want to do. Be prepared for a little resistance, but don't listen to your critics.
Mm-hmm. Now, where can people find your music? I know you guys have a YouTube channel. I know you guys have a Facebook page. Are you guys on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify? Where can people find you?
Right now, until we get the album recorded, we're only on Reverb Nation, Facebook, YouTube, and our official website, mm-hmm. outlawsaint.net. So right now that's basically where you can find us. I'm not a big fan of Spotify, to tell the honest truth, just for the main fact that, I don't know. I'm not sold on Spotify, where you can, stream the songs or whatnot. To me, I want to own that song instead of, so I don't know. We may or may not, but, I'm not convinced to have our stuff on Spotify. But, hey, iTunes, once we get everything going, I'm planning to try and get us on iTunes, on Amazon MP3, wherever we can, get it. But until then, all we have is our Reverb Nation, our Facebook, our YouTube, and our official site.
Yeah. And Tommy, you mentioned before that when you were playing music early on, you toured a lot all over the country. What was your favorite part of the country to play in?
Well, don't get me wrong. Don't make it sound like I was some, God's gift to guitar and making. I was doing just what, and that's what cracked me up talking to our friends, the Roomers, last week. They were all, I think the drummer's a little older, right? But they're all in their 20s, and I dropped out of college to go down to Texas to play with a friend of mine, and and I think Texas is still that way. All these little small towns there, you've got two bars, and one's a country bar, and one's a rock bar. So every week, you just pull into this small town, and back then it was all rock for me. In fact, that's where our single "Rock and Roll Queen" was written in 1981 in Texas. It was that long ago. Now Tank and I kind of rewrote it for this band, but boy, that was a lot of fun playing everywhere from basically Shreveport to Dallas, and then Dallas down to Houston was which is a pretty huge loop if you had looked at the map. How big Texas is.
Yep.
God, I love playing there. Southern people are just such nice people. And then from there it was, going to Florida and South Florida where I lived for years. It was the same kind of thing. Florida's a pretty big state, and gosh, I once again though, I've lived here, brought up my family, my kids, and I really love the Midwest. People are so really nice here. Minnesota nice. It's
absolutely.
So I don't really hard to answer that question. I don't want to live in Minnesota and say, oh God, Texas was the best. Well, no, I guess I got to say, that's why I'm still here, and here's where we're working, Tank, in the heartland, trying to get this going, and that's our dream, just to get expanded a little bit first in the Twin Cities, and then Mankato next. We're hoping, and then
Mankato,
maybe go down and play
regional, maybe. We'll see where it goes. There's no guarantees. One thing I've told everyone in the band, I've told Tommy, I've told everyone in the band, there are no guarantees that we're going to make it. I want to see how far we can take this. It's just that's all I can say. It's just like I want to see where we can bring this. If we could tour, hey, that'd be great. But we got to do it within a reasonable, guidelines.
Yeah, we're all still working to pay for that. That's probably touring would be going to Chicago for a weekend, or going down to play with our friends in Davenport, right? The Roomers. That's the hard thing is, you can blank this out too, or maybe put an ad. Our drummer that we've had for quite a while just left just because it was really tough on him physically. It wasn't a lack of belief in the band. So all of a sudden we're looking for a drummer again,
but we have a fill-in for our show.
Oh, yeah.
And whatnot, so nothing's been changed or whatnot. But yeah, it's just,
Yeah, and Tank handles us better than I do. I'm not used to that. It's
been through it all.
Yeah,
been through it all. This
is the second drummer since I've been in the band in a year, but it's what happens because it's tough. There's no money. That's what really hurts.
It's hard for a lot of people to do this as a passion. Okay, and once again, this is nothing against anyone. Hey, if someone has the talent to be in a cover band and make money off doing it, all the power to them. Okay, I have no complaints about that. But it's just like, and that's one reason. To me, I'm old school. Okay, to me it's just like I've got the Guns N' Roses mentality. It's just like they would get together, they would play. They didn't care where they played. They didn't care what people thought of their music. They played because they wanted to play. Playing is what drove them, and that I try very hard with all the members in the band to balance. Hey, I want to play wherever we can, but in the same sense, there will be certain things that we don't do. Okay, yeah, we're not gonna go on a world tour, right now because financially that's just not feasible. So I try to balance that, but it's just, that's why it's been so hard to keep members, because it's hard to find those people that are passionate about the music, that just want to drive the music, and but that's the way I am.
Yeah. So, I mean, we really, really, really appreciate having you guys on the show. I mean, I love personally your guys' energy, and I mean, you guys are keep it on, and that's what it's all about. Perseverance is the name of the game when it comes to music, especially with all the bands that I've talked to. I mean, Tank, I would love to see you guys perform live. Other than that September 15th show, what other shows do you guys have coming up?
As of right now, the only other one we have is October 11th over at Famous Dave's in Uptown.
Oh, okay.
All the bands. So we won't know until the day of what order we'll be in. So,
Okay.
but it's an all ages show. So I like to market different shows or whatnot. So the marketing of this show is basically going to say, hey, it's just like bring your family. Okay, It's from 7 to 10. It's an all ages show. Let's show the younger generation how the older generation used to rock.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it'll be 4 bands, and that's by
Three
former.
or four. Yeah.
No, it's 4.
Oh, it's 4? Okay.
Band. Yep. I've been through this before with a cover band, and it really is a fun event they put on. I don't mean to be plugging Famous Dave's that much, but yeah, you can bring the family down. You're going to hear, we're by far in this case the heaviest band that's going to be playing there. There won't be another Guns N' Roses influenced band. It'll be some probably really good R&B. I was playing there years ago with my cover band. It's just a lot of fun. It really is a fun event.
And we promise to be real nice. We promise to be on our best behavior.
Yeah, there's no vernacular or anything going on at Famous Days.
Yeah,
it's kind of a family, which will be fun for us and different, but it really is a fun, event. I don't need to be plugging Famous Dave's on your show and you edit
no
it out.
problem. Yeah.
It's fun. It really is a fun way to hear, some good bands, and of course have some good food and.
I just want to play the stage.
That's Tank one.
The bigger the stage, the better we play, man.
Yep.
Yeah, it is a nice, yeah.
And the more in the front row, the better the show.
Absolutely. So, I mean, if you guys need me to ever endorse anything or need me to promote anything when you guys have that new rock opera coming out, I'd be more than happy to talk about it, and I'd be more than happy to promote it. So, yeah, if you guys, and your shows too, September 15th again, at Swordfest, you guys can definitely, if anyone's interested in that, go see that, or October 11th at Famous Dave's, go see them. I mean, these guys have so much heart and passion in it that, I mean, you have to listen to them now. And plus, I've seen Tank perform on YouTube, and it's definitely a sight to see. So everyone go and look at that. I'll leave links to all that stuff down below. And, I mean, Outlaw Saint, it was Outlaw Saint, it was a pleasure, absolute pleasure having you guys on. And you guys take care, and this is DD on the Spot, Ryan Johnson signing out. Have a great day, everyone.